right, Dan.
Dan, you there?
Yeah, I'm here. I just had
There
to,
he is.
I had to unmute. I've been basically selling my entire life since I probably negotiated the time of my birth. So sold everything in elementary school, and I can't imagine myself doing anything but sales. Um, at 60s, I sold a lot for elementary school, 70s, Boy Scouts, and I always found non traditional channels of marketing, although I didn't know what to call it that then. And so I always say there's a right way, a wrong way, and the Dan way.
I
And
love it.
it seems to work for me. Like in 1973, Boy Scouts were trying to sell some first aid kits for your car. And I think the highest guy had 11. I sold 360 because I just
Man,
went up and down the gas lines and with my Boy Scout uniform on. So that's an idea of what I think outside the box when
that's great. That's great. That's fantastic.
and
You know,
because of that,
one of the things we're gonna talk about, and I want to just plant the seed now. We're going to talk about the human behavior is not just psychological; it's biological. And so, the two things that we're going to talk about the human brain is that our brain's job is number one to keep us alive, so it's always scanning the environment looking for what's wrong. And because it would go into cognitive load if it just looked at everything, took in all the sensory input, we have gotten our brains are very, very good at ignoring patterns. So what you just talked about, Dan, you broke the pattern. You know, when something's different, unique, it stands out. That grabs our amygdala. It wakes up our amygdala and it grabs our attention. And so a lot of what we learn these different frameworks, and I'm going to walk you through one today before we end. And guys, I'm going to let you know if it's okay. I'm going to go over by about 10 minutes. If you need to drop, by all means, drop. You can watch the replay. But we have such a big group. This is taking a little bit longer than I planned, and I want to make sure and set you up for our next session on Thursday. So, but in any case, we're going to be looking at messaging, things that we can do in our frameworks that break the salesperson pattern. Quite a few of you have said, I don't want to see myself as a salesperson. We have a lot of stereotypes around what it means to be a salesperson. Everything that we're doing, we're going to be looking to break the pattern so that we stand out as unique and different for our prospect, and we bend probability in our favor to get a favorable outcome. So awesome. Dan, what do you want out of this class?
um, I don't really know. I'd never read a sales book before until they made me read Weinberg, and so I did that kicking and screaming because I didn't want to read it. I went to try to go to a few Carnegie classes way back when, and they were just telling me everything I knew. I, unlike Todd, believe salespeople are born. You may not know it, but I think you're born into it. Gift of gab. You know a little about a lot. You never met a stranger. And that's the kind of thing. I hate canned sales at all, and that's just the way I am. But I've sold everything under the sun, and the one consistent thing is I never knew anything about it. So even when I went on my interview with Bill, I had to fig through the fact that, and Bill's up there, Bill Penn, that I didn't even know elevators had phones. I mean, I never touched one or anything, but I think he saw that I could sell, and everything I ever sold, I never knew anything about before I went in. So.
That's awesome. Well, definitely there are innate skills, and there have been salespeople that I cannot do what they do. That what we are going to be focusing on, and thank you for I love your honesty. We're going to be looking at systems that are repeatable and duplicatable. But what I tell every salesperson I've ever worked for, if you are selling and having success, do that because we are all here to generate revenue. We are all here to hit a quota, to exceed a quota. So I learn as much from you guys as hopefully you learn from me. Thank you so much, Dan. All right, who's next, Todd?